Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Great Days Outdoors Magazine, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I want to tell you guys about something that we have introduced to you guys for our listeners. You guys just text fishing. Text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to the phone number 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. This week's show is brought to us by CCA Alabama. I know Capt.Patric, my co-host today, does a lot of tagging for CCA Alabama. How are we doing today, Capt.Patric?
Hey, man, if I were any better, I might be, I don't know. I don't know where I could be any better, really, to be honest with you.
Fishing's been hot, man. I saw some pictures from you yesterday.
Fishing's been solid. The weather's been fantastic.
Well, keep your fingers crossed on that. Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Well, let's say the air temperature and the crispness in the air and all that stuff. Yeah, it's been great around here for this week. It's been a good solid week. How about you, man? What's been going on?
Just doing it, man. Just doing it. That's all we can do.
You've been
recovering from one storm, keep blowing. I keep walking out the door and blowing real hard over the west. I hate it for those guys, but we don't need it over here for sure.
Jeez, he ain't lying, man.
Tell us a tagging story. I've been seeing you do a bunch of tagging with CCA Alabama.
Mostly
any cool recaptures or anything recently?
We did recapture. I think it might have been Sam Glass's fish. Sam does a lot of red fishing around the causeway and the bayou and stuff, and around Mobile Bay. And I believe it's one of his tagged fish that we recaptured, the 27-incher, and we stuck another tag in him. Gave him a little slap on the tail, and he swam away. So be on the lookout for that guy. I don't remember if we've recaptured any more this week or not, but putting a bunch of tags out. Really, anytime we get a redfish that's somewhere over 16 inches, a couple of customers like to harvest a few fish, and I usually throw out the idea, hey, why don't we let's get a few of them tagged, and then if we still have some, if we're still catching them, let's keep a couple if you want to. And, man, a lot of times people are, once they see the process and I start telling them the science behind it and some of the data that I'm getting back on some of these tagged fish, they're like, no, let's just go ahead and tag all of them.
That's awesome. So, that's the goal.
Exciting. It's real exciting to have that as somebody that's paying me to take them fishing. That so a lot of people do like to harvest fish, but when we start changing the perspective and the end goal on what we're trying to do, a lot of people just are like, no, man, let's just go and stick a tag in them and see what comes of it. And what I'm doing, I've got Fishing Chaos has got me set up to where all I do is I go into my catch log and I enter the fish's length. If I want to get a weight on it, I can put it on my boga grip and get a weight. And then you add in there that you're releasing the fish. You can put the tag number in there. And when I push submit on the catch, it goes to a spreadsheet that is readily or easily available for the C-Lab to be able to enter all that data. When they receive the information, it has the location, the time it was tagged, the date, all the information that you have to manually enter into their website. It's all instantly shot to them, and that fish is entered into my catch log. So that's then, cool. So like I've seen some stuff on the on Facebook from time to time where somebody recaptures a fish and they're curious about, if there's more story behind the fish. And I've seen where some of my fish have been recaptured, and we get to kind of share a moment about how we caught that fish and stuff like that. So it's a really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool thing that we've got going on. Talked to Blakely Ellis with CCA Alabama, and we've talked about how we're going to get more people tagging, and we've got some ideas out there. I think it's just really about implementing and executing to get more people tagging, because I got a lot of people that are like, man, how do I get a tagging kit? How do I get a tag kit? And they want more people wanting to be involved. Man, it's just so much fun. You've been with me. And
I enjoy it.
And hell, remember that one fish we tagged, me and you both caught the fish, or you caught one, I caught one. We tagged two of them, and then we go over that flat again, and there's that fish swimming by with his tag in. So
he wouldn't eat the second time. He didn't want that slick lure again, but I sure tried.
Yep. So man, there's a lot of cool stuff coming out with that tagging, and then also you can be tagging speckled trout too, but a lot of people like to keep speckled trout, so I tend to end up having boxing a few speckled trout before we ever start tagging some. If you're into straight catch and release, this is a great opportunity to learn more about the fish you like to catch.
Yeah, for sure. Need to get on Blakely, get him getting those tag kits out.
That's right.
Call him out. All right, man. Well, what else you been up to? Anything fun this week or last week you want to share with us?
Man, just a lot of trout numbers right now. We hit that little cool snap over the weekend or tail end of last week, and just it seemed like everywhere you go there's speckled trout. And I'm fishing everything from like Montrose to Dog River all to the north, and there's speckled trout everywhere. I'm finding some north of the Causeway. Not as many north of the Causeway, but I haven't started north of the Causeway. I've been starting more on groups of fish where I know that where they are. So a lot of times when I'm going north of the Causeway, it's kind of mid-morning or late morning, and the bite may have already started to die off by then anyway.
Yeah, true.
And then I've had some guys that are just hangry at a big hard pulling fish. So we've been chasing some shrimp boats around, still big fat jacks hanging on the shrimp boats, and
nice. And
they're even where you're trout fishing and red fishing around the Causeway, there's still a lot of jacks around. So even if you just like to get the big pull, there's still some of those guys to be found. And a lot of times when the water's really calm, you can actually see them waking across the bay, and man, you can really add some excitement to your day if you can spot one waking across and get a topwater on his nose, because that's an explosion you'll never forget right there, brother.
Oh yeah, a fight you'll never forget too on light tackle. Where are you out, Cap?
That's right. But man, that's been it. We've been catching some redfish, tagging some redfish, white trout, speckled trout, redfish, jacks. That's been kind of the routine for me this week, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm anxious to hear what Bobby's got to say, because I've all week long I've only crossed paths with him one time this whole week. So be anxious to see where
never know what that guy
been doing. Yeah,
never know what that guy.
So what we got? Who do we have this week on the show besides Bobby?
Yeah, man, we're going to head on over we're actually going to talk to Joe Baya over at the Northwest Florida Fishing Report. We're going to do a joint offshore report with him. We'll talk to Delynn Sigler. He runs a boat out of Destin, Pensacola, and also Orange Beach. We'll see what he's been doing offshore. Cool. And Captain Bobby's doing the inshore. And then we'll see what the ultimate beach bum's been up to with his beach down. So we'll be curious to get that report. I think he's been doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've caught a couple of his videos here recently. That dude's he's been burning some trails, going all over the place. So this is pretty exciting. I'll be anxious to hear what Beach Bum's got to say.
Yeah, man. But before we get over there and see what the guys at Northwest Florida Fishing Report have been up to, let's go with the Snapper Days coming up. And there's been some controversy with the storm coming in and all of that. So I just wanted to go down and talk to Director Scott Bannon of the Alabama Marine Resources Division. How we doing today, Scott?
Man, as I use the term, I'm living the Pandicane, the pandemic hurricane event. But it's good. We're moving forward. You know, it's been a difficult time for most everybody. So our thoughts and prayers are out to those who suffered some damage, and hopefully everybody's making progress like we are to make things better. We're very resilient here in the coastal part of the state, and I see it every day. So I'm very proud of Alabamians and how we're moving forward.
Absolutely agree. Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I've been seeing a bunch of stuff blow up on social media and things like that. Just kind of walk us through this weekend and how you guys came to the conclusion and moving forward.
Sure. So I'll kind of back up a little bit. At the end of the regular red snapper fishing season, July 3rd, we finished quality checking our data, and we knew that we had a little bit of a residual for anglers to go fish, and the total ended up being 128,000 pounds. And so that's a fair amount of fish, and we didn't want to leave them on the table because we don't get to fish those again next year. So by December 31st, we need to consume that allocation. So a while back, we chose this weekend, which would include Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because Monday was a federal holiday, and some people would have the opportunity to be off from work. Deer season's about to kick off. Hunting season is about to go full swing. We know that people are back in school and some things, but potentially the weather would be a little cooler, and a 3-day weekend to take the opportunity to catch red snapper. Well, then we had Hurricane Sally. So we knew that there was going to be some reduced effort based on the number of all the marinas in South Alabama were damaged in some fashion. Most of them were destroyed. So we know that's a problem. We know that a lot of personal boats that are at marinas are not accessible. Some are damaged, some are sunk, some are thrown up on the shoreline. So we already knew there was going to be a reduced effort for this weekend, but we wanted to keep it open that if people who had the opportunity to go, they took advantage of that. We worked on the quota. So we didn't figure at that point we would fish 128,000 pounds this weekend. Then you throw in Hurricane Delta. So with a pending hurricane category 3 strength is pretty daunting, but it is easier for us to remain open. And if the opportunity that comes for folks to fish, if it's safe and available for people to do so, we want them to be able to do that. If the hurricane hit us head on, we certainly would not want anybody to try and go fishing. We would assume that they would use their good judgment and not go. And we still have the pounds, because it's really about fishing to the pounds, not the number of days. So we already knew we were going to have reduced effort. I anticipated we would have an extremely low number of boats go once Delta was headed this way. It now looks like Delta is going a little bit further west and then north. So I think we're going to have kind of a cruddy weekend, but Sunday or Monday could potentially have some weather that some people would have fished in anyway. And again, I'm not encouraging the people to go out when the weather is bad. Don't go. If it exceeds your comfort level, which doesn't take much for me on comfort, and your vessel capability, don't go fishing. The pounds are still on the table. They're still in our storage bin, so to speak. And so then we will provide additional days until we consume those red snappers. So I know some people feel like we're encouraging people to go in the event of a hurricane, and that is not true. We want people to make their own decisions, but it's easier to just leave it open. And if an opportunity arises, people take advantage of it. If the opportunity is not there, don't go, and we're going to give you more days down the road. Now, after this weekend, I will meet with my staff and then the commissioner, Chris Blankenship, and we'll talk about what does a plan look like moving forward. Again, this time of year, a lot of people are drawing a lot of different ways, and we still have tremendous damage to boats and marinas. So it may take us some time to consume that amount of fish. And we know that a limited number of people are truly going to have that opportunity, but we don't want to take it away from those that can.
I think that makes perfect sense.
It does make sense. So, Scott, what you're saying is y'all will probably get into meeting about this first part of next week and potentially have a decision on a future date and announce maybe in a week or two or a month, or what do you think a timeline is on another announcement?
I think we will shoot for either next week or the beginning of the following week, because again, we want to get it out there. We want to get it open. Again, we were going to wait till after this weekend and see what kind of impacts that Delta dealt us. Right now it looks like we're just going to get, some wind and rain, some high tides. Should not be hopefully no additional damage. So I think we'll meet and probably pretty quickly develop a thought for when we start trying to work on this allocation. Because again, this is something that we want the anglers to have, and it's never going to be perfect. We definitely are not going to make everyone happy. Abraham Lincoln told us that a long time ago, and so we're just going to try and do the best we can, provide the most access to the most number of people, with the realization that in this abnormal year, you could never write the horror story of pandemics and hurricanes and all these different challenges that have presented themselves this year. So it's our goal is just to keep providing access until we consume that allocation.
I think that makes great sense. We appreciate what you guys do. I know a lot goes into those decisions, and it's a lot of numbers and a lot of number crunching and predicting, and I think you guys do a great job. We've seen the benefits of that. I
think we have, and that's where the snapper check pays off, is we use that to monitor the harvest, and so that's how we can make those decisions in relatively short time periods. And again, the end of the day is the beauty of state management is the ability to be flexible. And again, we have to do this by December 31st, so we're gonna work pretty hard to start getting some weekends in. And it may take more weekends because effort will not be very, very high for a variety of reasons.
Sure, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like all that, man. That's like I said, we appreciate you guys. I know a lot goes into it. It blows my mind just even hearing you talk about the numbers and things like that sometimes, because it's so much that does go into it.
It does, and we have a lot of people that participate in it, and which is good. But also, the more people that participate, the faster you eat up the pounds.
That's true. While we got you, I've gotten several listeners submitted questions that are kind of along the same lines. All of them kind of basically say the same thing. If we're able to add days throughout the year, would it be better to stagger our season and decrease the pressure instead of whacking the species all at once in the summertime when they're full of eggs? That makes sense? You kind of understand?
It does, and we've had that question before, and I even asked myself that question. I have looked at some what I call creative mini seasons, maybe opening a few weeks at a time or a few days at a time here and there to maybe allow for a multi-species season, which also was another reason that we were doing this 3-day weekend, was you were going to have the opportunity to catch amberjack, triggerfish, and red snapper all in the same weekend, and we haven't had that in forever. So we have looked at, are there some creative ways to provide access to the fishery for a large number of people and maybe spread it out? Because we do get our folks that stay over in the wintertime, the snowbirds, for lack of a better term, they would like some access. I completely understand that. We do realize that the spawning season for red snapper is generally from like May to August. So our traditional summer season covers the entire spawning season or a large portion of it. There is a line of thinking that with the number of fish, whether that fish dies in the summertime or in the wintertime, if it's removed, it's removed, either prior to releasing eggs or while it has released eggs. So in the summer, it does at least have an opportunity. You do see them early in May when we start fishing a lot of fish with eggs, but there's a lot that goes into it. I want state management to kind of settle down and people have an understanding of the flexibility and then look at some different seasons. And I think we will get there. And now that we have the refish endorsement, we can poll those limited number of people that participate in that fishery and maybe get some input on what would a good season look like. Do you do some in January, some in March, some in the summer, some in the fall? There's a lot of questions that we do look at. But there's also an economic driver. That is not our primary goal in management, but it is one of the things that we consider, and also that most people traditionally travel in the summertime, and that's how we provide the most access to the most people. But I do think there's some possibilities in the future to spread that out throughout the year. So it's not off the table. I'm open to lots of things, but we just need to get state management settled down a little bit, get people comfortable, and I think we can look at some of those creative solutions.
That's all that we can ask for. Like I said earlier, you guys do a great job. Looking forward to more.
Well, I appreciate it. And we do accept, when people provide those type comments, that's how we kind of see what people like and don't like. We get it from you guys, whether they're commenting to you or they send it directly to us.
Sure.
I read them and I respond.
Sounds good. Well, we
good.
appreciate you being on, and we'll see what happens. Keep praying that Delta gets on out of here. Hopefully it just dissipates.
Yeah, I prayed for a dry Sahara wind to come in and suck the energy out of that thing. So, because I don't want to wish it on anybody, but guys, I want you guys to stay safe, and I hope your families are safe. And we'll see you on the other side of this. And I think we're still going to have some good opportunities to go fishing. Sounds great. We look forward to hearing about that. And same to you. Hope you guys stay safe as well, Director Bannon. Talk to you soon. Thank you. All right, Capt.Patric, the offshore reports have been hard to come by with Sally and the weather that's been happening with us recently, but we're going to get a joint report with the Northwest Florida with Joe Baya and Captain Delynn Sigler over there. Let's go see what they're up to. What you say, Captain Joe Baya? What's going on over there in Northwest Florida, buddy?
Man, I just got my rain suit on. I got my Bottle Battery Reeboks loaded up in the truck. I was planning on coming over there and catching some snapper this weekend. You think we're going to be able to get out there? Looks like it might be blowing a gale. Man, I think that if you can go. If not, then there'll be plenty more snapper days after this weekend. I think the participation is going to be pretty low. And Director Bannon reassured us that if you don't use them, they'll keep going. So that's good news. Yeah, that's really cool. And it's really awesome to have those opportunities here in the fall. You can go out and catch triggerfish, grouper, snapper. Amberjack. It's just amberjacks. It's all open. It's all available. We just need a little good weather and get out there and get after them. No doubt, man. I got into the NyQuil a little bit last night, and I had a crazy dream. I was sipping on that Quill, son, and I woke up in a panic. I had a dream that it was me, you, Skipper. We had an overnight trip on the Escape, and the whole crew was down there sleeping on the boat before we left. And I could not find a spot. All you suckers were splayed out in my favorite spots, and I could not find a spot to sleep. So I got pissed and went over to Mom's house, took a little nap, and I woke up past the time we were supposed to leave in my dream. And I checked my phone because we thought, with Delta coming in and kind of going over to the west, we could just head straight out, catch our tuna, and come right back before she hit, So I woke up at, 8 a.m. saying we were supposed to leave at 6 a.m. And I checked my Weather Channel app first thing. And it was a Category 9, Cap, and it was a straight
It was a straight beam to the Dolphin Island Lighthouse, and I was panicking. I called Skipper, don't go, Category 9. And he was sleeping.
Well, let me tell you what. Let me tell you how you should have known that was a dream. It wouldn't have been, the Category 9, I guess that's possible. When you should have immediately known that was a dream was when we were sleeping and you were awake on the boat. Because, Cap, I guarantee you, every time I ever worked with you, I was not the one getting to do the sleep.
I think I disagree with that. I think you're the old napper. Old Captain Napper. Anyway.
Good stuff, guys.
Man. Well, let's go get this offshore report, man. Delynn Sigler is an excellent captain, and the cool thing about Delynn is he fishes in Orange Beach, Pensacola, and Destin. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what's going on in Pensacola, because that was an area that got rocked hard. And the cool thing about what Delynn does is he will come and go with you on your boat and teach you some of the things he knows. And I'm gonna tell you what, this dude mashes fish. So let's go down and talk with Captain Delynn Sigler.
All right, Captain Delynn, it's good to have you on the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report as well as the Northwest Florida Fishing Report. What you guys been doing down there? Where you been fishing out of this week and last week?
Not a lot of fishing. We're just dodging wind, dodging storms. But we got a few days in last week that was really pretty. And then one day I shouldn't have went. That wasn't so pretty. But we're still getting offshore. The hurricane didn't bring all the groupers in everybody thought they were going to bring in, but it did make fishing better. There's quite a few scamps around, a lot of real good amberjacks. Haven't targeted any big ones, but we had a 68 and a 70 one day, and a lot of jacks. One day I had like 15 scamps, been getting a gag or two here and there. The blackfins, which show up every year in the fall, have really showed up well. What day was it? I'm going to lie to you, but it was one day last week. We went and caught our jacks, caught 7 amberjacks, 3 almacos, and while we're catching those, we caught a blackfin. So we threw out a flat line to see if there was any more there, and there were a lot there. This time of year, you get a lot of those little tiny cigar minnows. We're fishing out of Destin, and we have just a live well full of them, so I'd grab a handful, throw them over the side. Instead of the spinning rods with 30-pound test on them, we beefed up to like 60 on our Talica 25s so we could get them in a little faster. We got 8 really nice, big, fat 25-pound blackfins in, but we lost twice that many, or probably 10 to sharks. Just beefed up our tackle and got them in as quick as we could. It was a good trip. We were still back in by 2:15 that day. I had 8 blackfins, 8 amberjacks, and 3 almacos.
There's some stud amberjacks for sure.
Yeah, and 25-pound blackfin's a nice grade of blackfin. That's getting to the point where when you cark those guys out and you're making some real nice loins, big enough to make some nice steaks. And you were talking about catching them while you're amberjack fishing, in that first bite being incidental. When you started chumming the water with some of those cigar minnows, 2 questions on that. Are you doing anything to wound those cigar minnows in any way? Like you squeezing them a little bit or bumping them off, throwing them off the cowling of your outboard or anything like that if you were fishing out of an outboard? And second question is, when you started chumming the water, did those fish come up? Did you start seeing the signs of blackfin? Or is somebody going to be able to sight fish for these blackfins right now? Or is it going to be just kind of luck?
I think you can sight fish for them. What we did once we started chumming, I don't like to hurt my baits. I'm a big believer of fresh, frisky baits. Just trigger strikes from fish that aren't really hungry. And so I'd throw a handful out there, put a couple of them on a hook, throw them out there, and they would almost never get more than 30 foot from the boat, and you were on. So the problem is there was 10 and 12-foot duskies behind them. So you got to get them in quick. But, sometimes I have wounded them in the past, but this time we didn't. We just grab a handful, throw them out there, put a couple on the hook, throw them out there, and you were on. The friskier, the better. I'd always put the biggest one on your hook and then chum with all the little ones. And they were boiling on top. We'd had a popper, but it didn't last long. We made 2 casts with it, hooked a blackfin on both casts, but the second cast, the shark ate him, got the popper with it.
Dang. So. Captain Delynn, this time of year, AJ's, I've been hearing different reports about him being kind of beat up and kind of leader shy over here on Alabama. Are you seeing any of that? What's your go-to as far as leader length and leader size? My
go-to for amberjacks, just the average amberjacks, I'm not trying to catch 100-pounders, is a 100-pound test, 12-foot leader. But if you're going to fish the more inshore wrecks, the ones that get beat up all the time, buddy of mine, he's using 100, but he's going to 25-foot leaders, just trying to get that bite. Just the other day, actually, he couldn't get them to bite rubies. His hardtails were small, so he trolled up and down the beach the next day and caught some big ladyfish. And they were too big, but he said they hammered them. He couldn't get them down without getting a bite. And he caught some really nice 65-pound fish.
Nice.
And that was on a wreck that's only like 20 miles from the bass.
That's awesome. It's been my experience with live bait with amberjack is can't get too big. I think the biggest ones I've caught are on bonita, about 10-pound bonita.
I like a really, really frisky bait. The friskier, the better.
Same. Agreed.
Delynn, you were talking about this storm not pushing the grouper in, but making the fishing better. What did you mean by that?
It seems like the scamp fishing's pretty good. I did 2 trips where we went scamp fishing. It was really good. We caught 15 scamps off of one spot, left them biting. We had a limit of amberjacks, 15 scamps, a gag, and a couple of almacos off of one stop.
We get that question a lot. Folks are there, especially off of Alabama. You know, folks are really good. We're really good at catching red snapper over there, but we struggle with the grouper species. There's a really good scamp fishery right off of Alabama. And the further you move to the east is when you get away from that. Are you having to run, if you're leaving out of Pensacola or leaving out of Destin, are you having to run to the west, to the southwest to get into scamp territory, or are you able to fish due south of those 2 ports?
You can get them anywhere, but actually the 2 days that I fished out of Pensacola, I went southwest, so I was due south of Orange Beach, catching those scamps, and it was good. They were nice grade. They weren't giants, but a lot of 7-8 pounders, so they were a really good grade of fish. And we left them biting. We pulled off and left them biting. That's enough is enough. Let's go, guys.
Well, 15 scamps is a great day. I don't care how big they are. If they're legal, that's an awesome day and a ton of fish. Now, sometimes with those scamps, it seems like you just got to have live bait. Was that the situation for you guys, or were y'all what were they biting on?
Yeah, if I go scamp fishing, 99% of the time it'll be with live bait. And we had herring, cigar minnows, and hardtails, small little hardtails. I almost always live bait fish for scamps. What
kind of rig do you like for those scamp, Captain Delynn?
This time of year, I'm kind of heavy. I use a 100-pound test. I use 16-ounce lead, a 6 or 7 foot leader, and a 100-pound leader. So
just an egg weight on snap swivel to a leader, nothing fancy?
Nothing fancy, just
gotcha.
Just that. That way, and I use 100. You don't need it for scamps. You get more bites on 60 or 80. But we also caught a really nice gag while we were catching those scamps the other day. So
nice.
And also, your very next bite might be an 80-pound jack. Just that 100 gives you a little more insurance. Not that you're going to catch him, but you got a lot better chance with 100 than you do 60.
All right, Delynn. So I've seen a lot of different rigs out there when it comes to grouper fishing. You're fishing just basically a standard Carolina rig. And when I'm in scamp territory and I'm fishing natural bottom, what I'm always envisioning down there is kind of like Swiss cheese with these little limestone ledges. I've seen some ROV video of those areas, and it seems like there's just these little ledges. I mean, we're talking 18 inches sometimes between the true bottom and maybe a little limestone cliff. I'm always of the mind that I've got to be making contact with the bottom with that lead. I mean, literally, I'm feeling it thump the bottom. Is that necessary? Because if I didn't have to do it, I surely would like not to. It seems like you'd catch a lot more fish and not get hung up in the bottom so often.
Yeah, a lot of people think that they bump the bottom. You get more bites and it's a faster bite. I agree, 100%. But they're like, oh, I got hung. I got a bite and he went in the bottom. I go, no, that was your bait. He is scared out of his mind. He's hooked in his nose and he runs in the first little crack or crevice he can get into. Mm-hmm. So no, I have my people reel minimum 4 cranks off the bottom. And if everybody will do that, they'll come up and bite.
It makes sense.
So I always reel off the bottom, 4 or 5 cranks off the bottom. And plus, then the scamp comes up, grabs the bait, and tries to go back to the bottom, hooks himself. It's way easier to hook him. So he bites it a couple times, bends the rod over, and you just start reeling. You got him. So if you have to lay it on the bottom or fish close to the bottom, your bait most of the time runs in a hole because he's scared out of his mind. Plus, the fish can't swim directly away from you. He can swim sideways because you're already on the bottom. So it's harder to hook him, in my opinion. But if one person fishes really close to the bottom, everybody else is off the bottom, he will usually get the bite first. If everybody will reel up, they will come up there and bite, I promise you, because if you fish a spot, say you catch 7, 8, 10 scamps off of it, and all of a sudden they stop biting, then you drop down the bottom, you're still not getting any bites. So you caught all the ones there that were going to bite anyway.
Interesting.
Makes sense.
It does make sense if you kind of try to envision it down there. We're talking about rigs. We're talking about kind of the minutia, but it's important. And these are the kind of questions we get all the time. So, with scamp, we've talked on here a lot about matching your hook to your bait. Do you have a go-to hook when you're bottom fishing and, you're not ever switching hook sizes, or do you switch it up?
I do switch it up a little bit. It depends on my bait and my leader size. In the spring, when big snappers and amberjacks and gag groupers aren't in season, I'll drop down to 60 or 80 pound test. Well, then I drop my hook down too. You don't need a big giant hook if you don't have a big giant line to pull it with. I love the Mustad Demon Perfect Circles, love them. And I get them in the 2X because you don't need 3X for 60 and 80 pound test line. That it's a little lighter, gives the bait a little more mobility. He can swim a little free, more of a wire style hook, so you get better hookups, in my opinion. Now, if you're going to jump up to 100, 125, 150 pound tests, you're going to need to go to those 3X.
Delynn, what's the water quality like off of Pensacola? Off the beaches in Walton County, Florida, it's starting to get right. It's still not what it normally is, but the water quality has improved a lot since Sally, but it's still not what it should be. How is it over off Pensacola, and what'd you see? How far was it out to, clean water?
Actually about 35, 40 miles out, it got beautiful out there. We were out there in almost blue water. It was beautiful water, prettiest water I've seen in months. So it was really nice. And then actually when I ran on my trip out of Destin, we went southeast. It wasn't as pretty over that way. So it was good, clean, green water, but it wasn't as pretty that way. South of Orange Beach, once you get 35, 40 miles out, it was beautiful water. All
right, Captain Delynn, this is Capt.Patric over here in Mobile, and I've got a question for you because you do something that I do on occasions. I'll do a charter on someone else's boat, and if I understand correctly, you do it quite a bit. Help me understand how somebody gives you a call and says, "Hey, Cap, come and run my boat. Take me and show me how to do it." What are some of the ways that you're going to vet that to make sure it's a good fit? And just kind of walk me through your thought process when that call comes in.
Patrick, that's a great question. The first thing I do, "Hey, Patrick, glad you called. What can I help you with? You want to go offshore?" "Great, Patrick. Patrick, what kind of boat do you have?" And so if you tell me you got a 20-foot center console, "Well, Patrick, what do you expect? What are you after? Are you after blue marlin, or are you after some snappers or triggerfish, or what are you expecting here?" And a lot of people tell me, "Oh, I just want to learn. Show me how to work my equipment, how to work my boat, how to find spots, how to hold on a spot. And let's just go out and catch a mess of fish. We catch a limited triggerfish and a couple of scamps, we're good." Okay, great. We can do that on a 20-foot boat. But if you're going, "Hey, I want to catch yellowfin tunas," well, sorry, Patrick, this is probably not going to work for your boat. Let's get you on a boat that I have or on a bigger boat first. We got to have, real expectations. So
sure.
I kind of feel them out and see what kind of boat they have and what they expect. I have people with 50-foot boats that just want to go out and catch lemon triggerfish. Hey, that's great. Whatever you guys want to do, I want to make you happy. But I'm not going to endanger myself or you to try to get you 100 miles offshore to catch yellowfin tuna in 20-foot center console. That ain't going to happen.
That's great. That's great. What about electronics? I really like my electronics on my boat, and I get on other people's boats, and I look at a Garmin or say a Simrad or something like that I'm not familiar with. Kind of takes me a minute to even figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing, kind of navigating through their electronics. How do you feel about that? I mean, are you asking questions about electronics as well, or what are you doing there?
I do ask them about their boat, their electronics, their expectations. I've gotten pretty good. I don't know how to work my cell phone, but I can work pretty much all the electronics on the boat. But my buddy Jerry, I call him all the time. "Hey, Jerry, I don't know how to work this thing. This is a low rance, and I don't know anything about them." So he'll walk me through it sometimes. So I do have that problem on occasion. But being that I'm on a different boat every day, 6 days a week, Simrad, Furuno, Ray Marine, Garmin, all those are pretty easy to me. I can zip right through those.
Okay.
Delynn, you bring that up and you bring an interesting perspective. So as a guy who gets to run a lot of different kinds of electronics and see a lot of what's out there, new, old, and lots of different brands, do you have a favorite, or do you have one that you feel is, say, hey, this is the Cadillac, but it's not user-friendly, and this one's really user-friendly but lacks some features? I guess give us a quick rundown of the kind of electronics you like to see for a guy that's going to do predominantly bottom fishing.
I would stick with Simrad, Garmin, Furuno, or Ray Marine. Garmin, by far, is the easiest to work. Super easy, where anybody can work a Garmin. After that, I would go with Simrad. And then I would go, growing up, if it wasn't Furuno, it wasn't worth having. So I was a Furuno fan growing up, but they've gotten so complicated, so is Ray Marine, that they're a little harder to work. Still like them. They work great. Me personally, if I was going to buy a boat tomorrow, I would put Simrad on it or Garmin, one or the other. Those are probably the easiest to work, especially the Garmin. They're super easy to work. And they work great. They're great machines.
Awesome. Well, that's going to bring us to our offshore tip, Captain Delynn. This week's offshore tip is brought to us by Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over with. Don't waste your time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not know only where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. What's the thing for an offshore tip this week, Captain Delynn?
Offshore, if you get in the sharks and the fishing's good, and usually it is. Usually you'll fish 3 or 4 spots. You don't find any fish. All of a sudden you find fish, but guess what? Sharks are eating your scamps on your way up, your red grouper, your tunas, whatever. If they're biting that good, try beefing up your tackle. If you're using 60, go to 80. If you're using 80, go to 100. If you can still get the bite, lock the drags down a little more and just reel for all it's worth. You're going to lose some to the tax man, but if they're biting good, beef up that tackle. You can get them up faster. You can put some in the box. And that's what we did last week with those blackfin.
Makes great sense.
Delynn, you mentioned something early in the show about getting out there on a day that maybe you shouldn't have. And we've got some, I would say, marginal conditions coming up this weekend with a lot of people trying to go out and snapper fish. What do you do to really decide if you're going to go or not?
Here's what I do. If we can't decide at the dock, I tell the guys, come on, let's go catch bait. So now we're just right there near the pass. So we're not getting too far out. If it looks too bad, it gets dangerous. In any way, guys, turn around. Just turn around. I tell everybody on the boat, look, if I turn around, it's not safe. It's not even debatable. So we're going home. But a lot of times we'll catch bait. Okay, it's not that bad. It's not that bad here, guys. We got bait. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's run 10 miles. If we can make it 10 miles comfortably, we can cruise whatever this boat cruises comfortably, and we feel safe, we'll stop and talk about it. But if we can't make 10 miles, we're going to go back home. And a lot of times at 10 miles we stop. It's not a dictatorship. All right, guys, what do y'all think? This is what I think. Think we can make it. We're going to earn them. It's safe. It's just going to be a little uncomfortable. Or, guys, I would not do this, but let's go home. We really need to go home. Let's go to Waffle House and eat breakfast.
Right.
So and a lot of times, 10 miles, we do that. But a guy told me one time, it's better to be onshore wishing you were offshore than being offshore wishing you're onshore.
Amen to that. That's a fact. I know Joe doesn't like to spill his cocktail or his little snack there.
Right.
Yeah, if I'm spilling my coffee or my cocktail, it's too rough for me.
Go home, Cap.
That's right. I don't like to get wet. I hate sea spray in the face.
I'm with you.
I have a weird job, that I get wet every day, and I don't like it. I get all moody. Like, that sucks. I don't go home.
Oh, that's funny.
I can concur.
Yeah, same. All right, Captain Delynn, that's an awesome offshore segment. We appreciate that tip as well. If folks want to get up with you or call you, just ask some questions about their boat, and if you'd be willing to run it or get a trip with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you, Cap?
The best way is just call my cell phone. It's 850-758-2165. And even if I can't take you guys fishing or whatever, just give me a call, and I'll tell you where the bait's at, or just try to point you in the right direction. I know when I got started in this business, it was kind of tough, and some people kind of helped me out, so that's what I want to do is help other people out.
Awesome, man. We appreciate that, and be safe out there and keep whacking them. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, boys, that was a good offshore report, but I got to get back over here and take care of things on the Emerald Coast and see what's going on onshore and inshore. So you boys, y'all wrap it up over there, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Same, man. I enjoyed that. I think Captain Delynn knows his stuff. I enjoy hearing from him.
No doubt.
Yeah, that was a good segment. Good to see you again, Joe.
Yeah,
good
man.
to hear your voice.
Y'all be safe over there, and don't talk about that H word anymore.
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Have a good rest of your show. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you next time.
See you, bud. All right, Butch. Well, that was fun catching up with Joe and Captain Delynn over there in the Northwest Florida Fishing Report for the offshore. It's time to go hear from my buddy Captain Bobby Abrascato and see where he's been stomping around chasing speckled trout. Where you at, Bobby?
Captain Bobo.
Well, right here, and glad to be here. Actually, I'm in my age, you're kind of glad to be anywhere. I can tell you that. So,
come on.
We got time to hear
I'll
that.
tell you, man, as far as like where I've been, it's kind of kind of been everywhere, man. I just finished up today. It was up in the north end, and then yesterday we fished the south end. It's had just phenomenal trips, particularly numbers-wise, like we were just talking about before we went on the air. I mean, the numbers are just phenomenal. It's just been incredible, and it's been that way a lot throughout the year. I'm sure we've talked about it on the other, previous reports, but I mean, it's just huge numbers of fish everywhere, and you go through some fish, but the action's incredible. And what we were talking about earlier too is before we went on the air is it's fun right now because you can do all this on artificial bait, so you can still go through a whole lot of fish, have plenty of action. You're not getting eaten up, $100 worth of bait to catch your fish. You can catch them all on artificial bait. So it's just been a blast, man. And I don't know if it's one of the things we're talking about today is like if you could ever put your finger on what factors come together to make the fish bite the way they bit, at least for me, since probably about last Friday, every trip I've had in different areas have just been phenomenal. I think yesterday I could have probably broken a personal record as far as numbers of fish we caught if I'd have stayed on a couple of the schools we found, and that's in 40 years of guidance. It's just been really good. And again, I'm not just fishing one little area. I'm fishing a whole bunch of stuff from within sight of the interstate to within sight of the Mississippi state line, and having those kind of trips. So.
That's awesome.
Really been a lot of fun. Yeah. And I'm excited about the numbers of fish that we have around right now. And of course, kind of getting back to what I was originally talking about is if you could ever just kind of say, okay, we're on this post full moon deal right now. We're coming out of the nip. We got cooling water temperatures. We got a storm. I hate to use this S word or H word, but we got a storm in the Gulf. And so all these things coming together to create this bite, or what? You could ever just kind of say, okay, here's all the little factors that are happening right now for some incredible fishing. You probably could charge more than what we charge right now. Don't you think, Patrick?
Right. Recreate that perfect storm, so to speak.
Yeah. And just put it out there and say, okay, this is an A+ day right here, man. Yeah. You're going to catch 150 trout today by 9:00 in the morning, and because of all this stuff going on. But anyway, that's what's going on right now. At least it has been for us.
Well,
you talk about artificials. Yeah, no, I'm just curious. You throwing anything different? Are you just straight voodoos under a popping cork? Or are you throwing something different early in the morning? Or what do you elaborate on artificials a little bit for me?
Well, we've been using a lot of voodoos under popping corks right now. It really runs the numbers up. When you get in the right situations, like yesterday, we caught our first, 30 to 40 trout on top water. I had some pretty experienced anglers yesterday, terrible. It was great doing that. And then we caught some mixed in today. We were fishing under some birds today, and you guys know topwaters and diving gulls don't mix real well. So as much as we could have caught a lot of trout on topwater today, but the problem is it had been 3 trout and 2 seagulls, 2 seagulls for every trout you caught. Mm-hmm. They were biting that good today. We could have done yesterday. I wasn't fishing around the bird activity. And we were able to throw topwater, especially early in the morning, and we had cloud cover let us do that well into the morning, So those have been the 2 go-tos for me here for the last few weeks, and that's just classic fall fishing. If you're familiar with trout fishing, the two types of lures I was just talking about is shallow water stuff, and that's what I've been in. It's just 2 to 1.5 to 3.5, 4 feet of water is where I've spent all my time for the last few weeks.
Well, Bobby, I have to concur with you on the voodoo shrimp in the top water. And then I've got something else that I've been throwing, especially when I'm around pogies, is that the egret wedge-tail shad, or the wedge-tail mullet, I think is what it's called, a 3.5 inch. Anyway, between the voodoo shrimp and the wedge-tail mullet, I just went online, and you see that box right here? That's what this is, Butch. This is 7 pounds of voodoo shrimp and wedge-tail mullet to hopefully get me through the winter. But man, that stuff those lures are unbelievable. They have this great vibration to them, and it's given an angler that when I get some anglers that are just, some of them aren't necessarily snobby to a popping cork, but just want to do something different than pop a cork.
Sure.
So I'll put them that I'll put that wedge tail on there for them, and they can chunk and wind that thing and just about keep up with the guy throwing the popping cork. The popping cork by far, the popping cork with the voodoo shrimp by far brings in the most numbers, but that wedge tail grub has been really effective for us. I've been just throwing the pearl and chartreuse tail on that bait.
To go back to what you were just talking about, so you're just casting and winding that back in. It's not like a jigging or anything. You're just throwing that out.
Man, it is just straight. Throw it out, reel it in. And if you want to get a little bit creative with it, you can throw a little hop in there where it would, you would have a little bit of rise and a little bit of fall to it, a little bit of deadfall. But the fish seem to hit it best when you're just doing a straight retrieve. And it's been a fun lure. And man, I have two of them that I keep taking on and off of my rods, because we'll tie a top water on in the morning, and we'll tie that wedge tail on later on once they come off of top water. And these things, you can damn near see through them. They have been chewed up so much, but they're still hanging on the jig
Those
head.
are the good ones.
I'm getting my money's worth out of them.
Those are the good ones. Now that's a pre-rig deal too, isn't it? You don't have to rig that up. That comes pre-rigged.
No, that one in particular is just a pack of like 8 or 10 soft plastics, and you just put on like a 1/4 ounce jig head.
No, okay. Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So you're all right. Yeah. So you're putting it on a jig head. Cool. Yeah. Well, that just costed me some money. I can tell you that.
I mean, if I just got to cast it out and reel it, I might be good at that one. I might have to get some of this.
Hey, Butch, let me tell you what I call that right there. I call that the idiot retrieve. I invented that because I'm so damn good at it. That's why I call it that.
Yeah, that's what I.
Because an idiot like me can even make that. An idiot like me can even make that one work.
Bobby, let me get into pick your brain a little bit. So you say that some days you're finding your trout under the birds, some days not. Give us our listeners some clues. Do you have some visual clues? Do you just have some history areas that you're going to? Tell us a little bit about when you're finding your trout without the use of seagulls.
Well, I can tell you this: you're starting out with a history deal. That's the key. Is I start there and I figure out this time of year where I've caught fish, and we all know we have our areas where certain times of the year you're going to catch fish, and then to me, I'm looking out for slick type of things. Sometimes if you don't see any of that kind of stuff, you just kind of have to start fishing until some sign starts to happen. In some of the areas, particularly yesterday where I fished, some of them are smaller areas to where you can fish enough of them to where, you make 20 or 30 casts, you're going to find out if there's fish there, signs or no signs. But the big thing for me is, and to be honest, let me back up for a second. When we talk about birds today, we really got lucky. It was a lot of bird activity, more than I've seen so far this fall. The birds, sometimes when I hear people talking about birds, I'm thinking about it like a tornado, like a Alfred Hitchcock movie type thing where birds are just in a tornado. But this time of year, I'm looking for just some birds hovering, birds hovering a little bit. Today, we had more of that tornado activity. You know what I'm saying? So this was just like, I was joking about it today. I said, damn, Ray Charles could have found these fish. He's blind and dead, But it was more so today than I've seen so far this fall. But, typically what I do is go to a place based on, I play the wind a lot. Certain areas fish better when you got west winds, certain areas fish better we got north, and so on and so forth. And that was the reason I flip-flopped down the island yesterday. Not the island, but the lower end of the bay. We had pretty strong east and northeast winds yesterday, and that area down there fishes so much better when you get that than further up the bay. So that was the reason I chose to go down there, So I kind of play some history, I play some wind, and then I start looking for those signs when I get to the specific area where I'm going, and those signs being slicks, bait activity, and then again, like we had today, we lucked into some birds that really, really gave everything away.
That's awesome. That's a great report, Captain Bobo. We got the Hey Cap question for you this week. I think it's a pretty good one. It's applicable. It's timely. This week's Hey Cap is brought to us by Foster Contracting. As we all know, it's unfortunately hurricane and storm season. Stress is a little less with a new roof, fortified with a fortified roof system designed to withstand heavy rain and winds. You may even get a nice discount on your homeowner's insurance. Stay safe, enjoy less stress, knowing you have reduced your risk for damage with Foster Contracting. Check them out on the web at www.fortifiedroofingpros.com or call them at 251-447-2978. This week's Hey Cap comes from Roderick Tillman. Is that the fourth? 1V? I'm so bad at those Greek letters.
If it's that's not 1V, Butch. That's IV, man. That means fourth. Yeah, that means fourth.
Hey, at least I had that part right.
Hey. Before you get into reading this Hey Cap question, I can't, like, that was the perfect ad for Foster Contracting, because they put a new roof on my house when the stress level every time it rained went way, way down. Yeah. And I was like, it really was very, the stress level was so far down, even when that Hurricane Sally came through. But I would jump every once in a while. You know, there's green pine cones, and they're hurled down at like 100 miles an hour, and they were bouncing off the roof. And, dude, the roof held up great. So I would have to say that anybody that is sitting there looking at some curled up shingles and needing a new roof, get it done, man, because it feels so much better every time it rains now.
Yeah,
that's some experience for one of our advertisers right there.
That's right. Man. That's right. I'm That's one of the main reasons that I'm hoping that Delta goes the other way or some other way other than us, because I had a lot of roof damage from Sally, and Foster came out and they're going to put a new roof on my house. So we just need to get past this little segment here so we can keep getting.
Well, I'll tell you, you don't want to wish it on anybody else, but good gracious, man, especially you guys, you Butch down there in the south part of the county, and Patrick over on the east side. I mean, that's
got beat up.
We've had our share. We had our share.
Got beat up.
I saw matter of fact, I was heading up to the Delta this morning. I shouldn't say the Delta, but I was heading toward the Delta. But and there was a sign. You know how they do those electronic signs on the interstate, and whoever programs those got a great sense of humor, because the electronic sign came up and said, "Don't even think about it, Delta."
Amen to that.
And I was going like, maybe he's talking about me not wanting to go to shouldn't go to the. Oh, he's talking about the hurricane.
That's right. Thought he was speaking to you directly.
Yeah, that's
not time yet.
Lord, maybe
it's not time yet. Stay out of my Delta. It's not time yet.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so we have established that is Roderick Tillman IV. He said, "Hey, Cap, these early cold snaps, how do you locate the fish? Had trouble last Saturday. They seem to be confused on whether to transition to fall trends or stay in their summer patterns. What you think?"
Oh, that's a great question. And, of course, we touched on that. You still, as far as locate them, it's still the signs you want to look for, which are what we just talked about a little while ago. But on that subject of the transition, that's got to be, to me, that's one of the toughest times of the year, just because of what he touched on, is these fish get really confused when the water temperature's, right around that transitional area, which is about 75 degrees in my book anyway. And that can happen, man. It really gets tough to get a lot of bait on the move, and place where you caught fish 2 days ago or a week ago is completely the Dead Sea now, and it's just because the fish are moving with the bait. So all you can really do, fortunately to me, it feels like we've gone and, pretty much transitioned into this fall pattern right now is what it feels like to me, as far as this year goes. But on any given year, you can have that situation that he's talking about, to where, some of the fish that were at a piece of deep structure are going to be gone a week later. And so all you can do is look for those signs we were just talking about a little while ago. Try and pay attention to your history of where you've caught them in the past. And if spot A is not working, or area A is not working, or pattern A is not working, go to pattern B and be flexible, and make some changes. So that's the best information I can give you. And again, we talked about birds. I hate to rely on birds because they'll let you down every time, but this time of year is the time of year you can be running from, say, point A to point B and see some bird activity in a place that you've maybe never even caught fish before, and it turned out to be a really hot school of fish, and that's just those fish moving with the bait. So, keep your eyes open for those things and be a little bit flexible, be willing to make some changes to your game plan, and and kind of let the signs and the fish tell you where they want to be.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense. I remember about this time last year talking about, after a front comes through and it's 50, high 50s or low, 65 in the morning. That's a big temperature difference right now. And the fish take a couple of days to acclimate on either side of that. Like today, it's back up to 85 or 90?
Yeah, 90 degrees, you're exact. But the one thing about it, too, and I'm glad you brought that up, Butch, is even the beginning of this week and into the weekend, we were leaving with wind pants and beanies on and fishing, on into the morning was still a sweatshirt on, whereas today by 8 o'clock or 8:30, you're dripping with sweat, but the water temperature doesn't change that much. We've got to have a good stretch of either hot or cold to really dramatically drop, or a storm to really dramatically drop that water temperature. So that's their environment. So they're understanding that. The bait's understanding that, and that's what's motivating them to do whatever they're going to do versus the air temperature. So, it's easy to say, well, it's hot now, I want to go back out and fish gas rig. Well, it ain't like that, because the water temperature's still 70 degrees, and that's what it was at the beginning of the week when it was cooler. It just doesn't. Yep. The air temperature, ambient temperature doesn't change the water temperature that quickly, and that's the fish environment. That's a fish's environment, and so that's what they're understanding.
All right. That's a great Hey Cap question, Roger. We appreciate that. Roger's going to get a prize pack from the Slick Lure. Roger, make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com to redeem your Slick Lures. You guys make sure you follow us at Best Fishing Report and join that Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report private group. Captain Bobby, we appreciate the report.
Shoot, man, I appreciate y'all having me on. It was a fun report. It always is, man. I just enjoy it. I forget that we're actually doing a recorded report. I'm thinking like it's just me, you, and Patrick, or me and Richard, or whatever, sitting around talking about fishing. I get carried away,
That's the beauty of it. That's why we love it.
A lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
All right, Cap. Well, we enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right, Captain Patrick. Always good to hear from old Captain Bobo. Sounds like he's been wearing them out, man. I still like the bumper crop of speckled trout.
Yep, man. It's like a record on repeat, man. Just keep talking about all the speckled trout, all the little speckled trout. So yep. It's
they got to grow up somehow, right?
Man,
someday.
It has me optimistic for Mobile Bay, Mississippi Sound for sure. Yep. So where are we going next? I mean, we only got one more spot to go. So who do we got to hear from on the onshore report?
Yeah, man, we're gonna head on down. I would say the Bama beach bum, but he don't have a beach right now. So what you been up to, Mathew Isbell?
What's up? Let me just start by saying this. This has been the dadgum weirdest freaking year we've had our beaches closed for extended periods of time now twice this year. Are you kidding me? This is and not only that, as far as the hurricane season goes for us this year, obviously, Sally direct hit, that sucks, but we have, the back half of this hurricane season, as far as getting any type of consistency for beach fishing, forget it, man. Besides the fact that the beaches have been closed for, 2 weeks now, or 3 weeks even, I can't even keep up. But, it's every tropical system this year has come into the Northern Gulf. And even though we haven't been direct hit by all of them, it still jacks up your surf fishing for, extended periods of time. We get a few days where it's actually clean water and decent conditions, and then boom, we got another shit. It's been ridiculous. I'm pretty peeved about it. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like it. It's been tough. I
don't really know who to file my complaints with, but between global pandemics and catastrophic hurricanes, I don't really know who to take that up with, but it's definitely messed up our beach fishing.
Well, I will have to say it's a good thing that Captain Richard added the ultimate Bama beach bum to your name, because we might just have to do ultimate Bama bum.
Yeah.
And just have the beach part in there occasionally, AKA.
That's right. That's right.
Seriously, because this year I've had much lower percentage time with my feet on the sand, so it's been difficult, but we make do. I love fishing, and you make do. And I haven't been running trips, of course, but with me making YouTube content, I'm always fishing and trying to make videos, and my focus is always land based. So you got to overcome and adapt, and there's been a lot of that this year. And I'm complaining and all that, but it's everybody's dealt with it. It's not just me. Everybody's had to feel the effects of hurricanes and obviously pandemics and everything that's shut us down so much this year. But I'm just venting to you guys.
Yeah. Well, hey man, you can vent anytime you want here, because I understand it's been definitely been a rough year. What did Director Bannon call it? The pandemicane? Pandemic year, the pandemic came.
That's right. But hey, it's good to be back on the show. Like, I'm glad to be talking again.
Me too.
We're kind of getting there. I feel we're hopefully. We're winding down on our hurricane season. Yeah, we can get out of this, and hopefully we can get to some sense of consistency where we can actually get on the beach with fish. And I've done a little bit. I've only actually been on the beach once and didn't really have a lot of success. It was just nice being out there, but caught a few fish, and I've seen, as far as, reports from other people, the hearsay reports, I've heard the whiting bite's been pretty consistent. Not a lot of pompano in this area yet, the people that have been able to get out there and fish, because, of course, if you don't know, if you're unaware, public beach accesses mostly are closed still, as far as Gulf Shores and Orange Beach go. There are some accesses open still in Fort Morgan that are public, but primarily most of the people that are getting on the beach right now have private access. However, of course, yesterday they just put out the mandate for people to leave if you're not a resident. So a lot of those folks that actually were on the beach and able to fish, they had to leave. So it's just kind of a mess. But we're not getting seeing a lot of pompano this way right now. But like further east, if you're into the Panhandle, I have seen some buddies. I got some guide buddies over that direction, and they've actually been doing pretty well with some pompano into Navarre and into Panama City. Mm-hmm. They've actually seen a pretty decent fall run, but we may have had some good opportunities around here, but we wouldn't know about that.
Right. I've been seeing a bunch of, you say the private residences. I've been hearing some reports of some redfish being smashed off the beach there in Orange Beach, Gulf Shores.
I have as well, but again, I haven't really had much of that opportunity. So it sounds nice, to get out there. But
it's great in theory.
Yeah, but
what else you been doing, man?
Yeah, I've been bouncing around, for the channel, and I'm sitting on a lot of videos right now. I've actually just been getting after it as much as I can without running trips. I try to produce as much content as I can, and I've been doing some jetty fishing. I fished the Fairhope Pier, which was new to me. These situations we talked about it in the spring when we had the beach shut down. It forced you to kind of get creative and do different things that you normally wouldn't necessarily do because your comfort zone is kind of not an option.
Gone.
So So I fished the Fairhope Pier. There were Jack Crevalle running around pretty close to there for several days. I think that's kind of died down now, but we were kind of chasing those fish around. And I've been walking out on the jetties, chasing jacks there too. Jack fishing right now seems to be a pretty good opportunity for a lot of areas, and I have learned that Jack Crevalle are pretty much my favorite fish to target. I love them. I mean, they're aggressive. Anything that's going to blow up on a topwater lure like they do and throw down like they do, I mean, sign me up. If it doesn't get you pumped up, because I know Jack Crevalle get like a bad rap, like a lot of people, snub their nose at Jack Crevalle. But like, if you can't get excited about a Jack Crevalle coming and just smoking a topwater plug or, whatever you're throwing at them, and burning down like they do, you might need to find a different hobby. I mean, fishing just may not be for you if that doesn't get you going.
That's what it's all about, man. The tug is the drug.
Hey, Mathew, I can't agree anymore. I've heard of people and had them on the boat, whatever, that don't want to catch a jack, and it just, I don't know, it just blows me away. And it does feel like it's kind of a snobby little deal.
Oh, it definitely is.
Oh no,
it has negative connotations all over it.
I don't want to catch a jack. Like, who doesn't want to catch a fish that wants to fight to the death? You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah.
I think what it really is the people that don't want to catch a jack can't catch a jack because they can't whip the jack. You know what I mean?
I think you're right.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
I think so.
They don't have enough. They don't have enough in the tackle. Don't have enough in the forearm strength to be able to bust the jack spirit and get them in the boat or get them on shore. I mean, you got a bigger. You have to get this fish all the way to the pier or to the dock or to the beach where you are. So I mean, you've got to really step up your game even more than I do. Where I'm on a boat and we kind of get them pinwheeling and then scoop them with the net. So, I mean, you've got another probably 5-10 minutes in the fight than we do on a boat.
Yeah, and what they do, like,
they're really good when you get them close to the beach or the pier. Like, you know how they just go back and forth, you know, or they circle, you know, and they do that mess. And they're really good. Like, you'll kind of have them close, and then they'll double back around, and they'll just take more line with them. And like, it gets frustrating, like that last 5-10 minutes trying to land that fish when they keep doing that mess. It's like they know what they're doing. I mean, I know they can't be the brightest fish in the world, but I mean, it feels sometimes like they're just messing with you.
South Alabama yellowfin. That's what I call them dudes.
That's right.
Yeah, bay tuna, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. Gosh, a yellowfin tuna will do the same thing, man. We'll get in, you know, within 50 feet of the boat with that blue water, and you can just see down there circling for 15 or 20 minutes. You're like, all right, he's going to come up this time. Nope. Nope. Stay right there. Do that death circle at the death circle, those tuna.
Yeah, and they've been when jacks are blitzing and you throw a spoon or a topwater plug. Nothing around here gets my adrenaline going, seeing those fish just coming and just exploding after that lure. I mean, I love it. Like, I would do it every day if it were an opportunity every day. And I love it. I can't get away from it. It really has become my favorite thing to do. I would go catch as many as I could until I'm worn out, which is usually like one. But it's an awesome fish.
I feel the same way. Like, give me one, maybe two. Yep. All right. That's good. I got my fill. So what else?
That's right.
What's the best way to catch them off the beach for you? Sorry to interrupt you, Patrick. You doing top water, or are you doing ahead. Cut bait, or what's the best? I'm kind of intrigued. I want to go catch one now. I've caught maybe a handful of my whole life, and they were just incidentals, you know?
Yeah. No, when I'm targeting them on the beach, I'm looking for them, but I'll blind cast, and I've upped my tackle this year for that. Like, I'm prepared for it now. Like, more like an East Coast style, you know, throwing those longer rods that are built for kind of throwing lures. I use a Star Paraflex, 10'6", and it'll sling a topwater popper, and a popper is like, it's just my favorite thing to throw for them. I mean, the cool thing about it, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Like, I mean, if you got jacks and you throw a popper on a school of jacks, like, they're gonna hit it as long as they're close to the top. I have been in situations here in the last few days where they're kind of staying down and they weren't hitting poppers. But if you see them on the beach cruising or blitzing or whatever, you know, looking for that. And there's a few ways you can see them, like whether it be they're chasing mullet or menhaden, and, you know, you see those menhaden jumping or those mullet jumping, like, you know, it's either going to be like sharks or jacks, one of the two. And I just always throw at it. Or, you know, you'll see them like waking, and you'll see like they look like triangles, just their fins sticking out of the water a little bit. Like, if they're not really feeding, but they're kind of cruising on the backside of the bar, you'll see them moving around. And, you know, if you just throw a popper in front of them, and, you know, pop it a couple times, they're gonna just hammer it, and it's awesome.
Captain Patrick is grinning ear to ear. You're getting him fired up over here. He's just smiling like a little kid over there.
We've been seeing the same thing up in the upper end of Mobile Bay, and it's like, oh my God, there he is. Get a topwater in front of him, and it's the best explosion in the world from a fish, man. That is so awesome that you're seeing the same thing down there on the beach.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. I mean, but yeah, the poppers that I throw the Halcos. I don't really think it matters, but I do really like the Halco poppers. What their gear, like their hardware that they come just right off the shelf in the package. It's perfect. Like, you don't have to replace hooks or anything. Like, they're hardcore enough to be able to handle and put pressure on those fish. And so I really like those Halco poppers, and they come in a few different sizes. But I've used the 105s and the 135s, and both of them work great. Of course, the 135 is a little heavier, so you can get a little more distance. It's a little bigger profile. But man, yeah, I love it. I will go and spend all day walking the beach, looking for jacks and blind casting when I can, and, you know, taking breaks and just looking for, you know, the signs of them and try to throw at them. I love it. It's my favorite thing.
All right. Well, tell us again what size rod that you're liking, and what are you pairing it with on a reel, and are you going braid, mono? What are you doing there on your line?
I've got the 10'6" Star Paraflex. The lure rating weight, I think it's 3/4 of an ounce to 4 ounce on that. It's a little light. It's lighter than like most of your pompano or your like surf fishing rods that like you would use for set rigs. Most of those are going to be from like the 2 to 5 or 3 to 6 ounce lure weight. So, you know, generally those are a little beefier. So it's a little lighter, a little faster action tip, so you can really whip out some lures. And the rod itself, I really like that rod. It's pretty lightweight, so even though it's a bigger rod, like you don't get fatigued throwing it. And I put a 4500 Slammer 3 on there. You really want to have some decent line capacity, and you want to have some drag. Oh, yeah. You know, because you do have to think about the drag, because what you got to do when you're fishing from the beach or the pier and you're trying to catch these fish, like you can't let them run too much. Like you got to put a lot of pressure on them, because you got to get those fish under control somewhat so that you can actually land them and they don't spoil you or anything. So I have 30-pound braid on that 4500. I'll generally run a 50-pound mono leader. It doesn't have to be crazy long, maybe 18 to 20 inches to that lure. That's generally what I do. I lock down that drag. Like, I mean, you can put a lot of pressure on that fish with that setup and really try to tire them out. Generally, I can get those fish in because I'm filming always, so like I actually have record of it. Generally, those fights last anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes. So I feel like that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Those jacks
that is good.
That's really good, actually.
Yeah, that's whipping that booty right there.
That's right. Yeah, and that's. I think it comes down to the gear. I mean, like that's my most expensive setup. I really feel like the drag capabilities of the Slammer, like when you're doing it from the beach, you really kind of have to think about it. Like most of these fish, like you can go get a Walmart combo and catch redfish or whatever. Like you can handle it. Like you'll be fine. But like if you try to use a Walmart reel or something against a jack, they're gonna blow that thing up. So you want to make sure you've got some pretty hardcore stuff that you can lock down that drag and get that fish in.
I'm sure it's much better on the fish too for a good release.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't want to wear them out, any more than I have to. So definitely want to get them in quick. I'm not keeping them, so I want to make sure they're okay.
For sure. All right, man, that's a great report. We got to get that onshore tip from you. This week's onshore tip is brought to us by MDH Foundation Repair. Is your home experiencing foundation problems? MDH Foundation Repair has the best solutions to fix it right and fix it now. The problems you see are only going to get worse, so don't deal with inefficient, unqualified, and pushy salesmen trying to sell you overpriced foundation repair products. The professionals at MDH Foundation will ensure you have a remarkable experience from the first meeting to the finished product. MDH Foundation Repair is redefining the construction industry and protects your most important asset, your home. Check them out at mdhfoundationrepair.com. All right, Beachless Bum, what you think for an onshore report this week?
Yeah, since we're talking about jacks, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask about catching jacks, or they purchase the poppers that I use and they want to catch jack crevalle. And really the best way, like if you want to scratch that off of your bucket list, you just really want to catch a jack from land especially, I would say the best way to do that, get your rigging right, make sure you've got a good solid reel, good line capacity, good rod that you can get some distance with a topwater plug or a spoon or something that's going to reach out there pretty far, so that when you do have those opportunities, you can reach those fish. But go out to the beach, to the pier, to the jetty, wherever you're fishing, wherever those fish may be, and only go out there with that setup. Like go out there within your mind, you are going to go catch one fish that day, and it's going to be a jack crevalle. Go with that focus. Don't try to, if you really want to do it, like don't make it a secondary effort. Don't go out there and try to pompano fish and think that you're going to have a good opportunity at jacks. Yes, like when I'm pompano fish or if I'm doing something else, I always do have that jack rod ready to go just in case that opportunity does present itself. But if the days that I've caught jacks, every single one that I've caught this year, which I've landed 4 now, 1 from the jetty, 3 from the beach. Every day that I've caught a jack, I went out there to catch a jack. That's the best way to do it. It's never been just a bycatch or, I got lucky and they popped up on me, although that can happen. Not saying it won't, but like if you really want to scratch that fish off your list, or you really want to go catch a jack crevalle, focus on catching a jack crevalle. Don't get caught up in something else and think you're going to get lucky.
I think that's great advice.
I think that's perfect advice, Mathew, because we see the same thing from a boat where we'll get the incidental bite on a 4,000 series reel like I'm using for, say, trout and red fishing, and maybe my hook's not strong enough to hold up to the pressure of that fish. And we may, we may straighten a hook, or we may break a leader or something like that. So there's a lot of times where we may cross paths with them. Man, when we go out there and I've got my bigger tackle, I've got a setup with a 7.5 foot rod and a 6,000 reel and 80-pound braid, and we can really bust the jack real easy with that setup. And so, yeah, I mean, I concur that it's a great idea to be ready and specific for catching that guy, because it's going to be a lot easier and way more achievable if you're ready for him, instead of just hoping that everything else holds up, because it's very likely that it doesn't hold up.
That's what I tell people, man. Like, Jack Crevalle, aside from tarpon, which I've never personally caught tarpon, but in our waters, like, it's the best fish that's going to test your gear, and it's going to test you. Like, it's going to test you as an angler as far as your ability to fight that fish, and it's going to wear you out, and you're going to have to put every ounce of pressure and test your knots. You're going to have to test your line. You're going to have to test your tackle. Every aspect, like, it's going to put it to the test, which that just gets me excited. Like, to know that, like, you got to make sure everything's right, or you're not going to land that fish. So I think it's a great fish, a great target, and I think it should get way more respect than it does.
That's a great report, man. That's a great point as well. I look forward to getting out there and doing it. Let's do it, Capt.Patric.
Yeah, man. All right.
I'm ready to catch one on top water. I'm all fired up now. I'm ready to catch one Mobile Bay Yellowfin.
Oh, gosh. It's the best. It's the best.
All right, Bama Beach Film. I know you're a little bit incapacitated right now, but if folks want to check you out on YouTube or get a trip with you in the future, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, check out my YouTube channel. I got links to everything in that, any videos, but that's just Bama Beach Bum. You can search it on YouTube, search it on Google, pull it up, go hit that subscribe button, and check out some videos, man. Maybe it'll keep you entertained. I try to keep them coming all the time.
That's right,
hey,
guys.
Before we let you go, give us a rundown on that remora. I watched that video. So
I didn't see that.
So it was good, huh? I mean, I've always felt like, I've always picked one up. Like when we catch one, I'm like, man, this thing's nice and squishy. Feels like the meat's probably not too overly tough. It's probably nice and tender. Just kind of lazily hangs out with bigger fish. So, I mean, I applaud you for diving off into that. Give us a little bit more information on that catch.
So I assume you've never eaten one.
I have not.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
I promise you, like, and the one I kept was tiny. I caught her off the beach, but like, I know they get decent size. Like some of those that you catch probably yield some pretty decent fillets. I promise you, like, that fish was exceptional. Like, if keep one, eat it, and like, I know it's not like something that you're going to go out and target, obviously, but you probably the next, like, if you keep one and eat it, like, and you catch another one later, you will probably not throw that fish back. Like, if it's a decent sized one, you feel like
yes, there's not a size limit on that, huh?
No,
there's not. But
that's interesting.
A delicious fish. The meat is nice and white. It's beautiful. It looks just like it looks like redfish, it looks better than trout. I would say it was better than trout.
Did you bleed it?
I'm going to throw that out there. I did bleed it. Yes, I pretty much bleed all my fish.
That's the way to go for sure.
I try to do it, but yeah, but you did. I wouldn't say you had to. It didn't seem like a exceptionally bloody fish. It was just like anything else.
Do you think the meat's comparable to that of ling, or what, or do you think it's more trout-like?
People have said that. The only reason I'd say I can't compare it is because the fish was so small. So like when you get a cobia, obviously, like,
it's got that steak feel. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're way hardier. So like it's just a nicer fillet. The fish that I kept was so small. Like, I mean, it maybe, like, if you got like a big one of those bigger remora, it might be closer, because a lot of people say that. I could see that, like, if it were a bigger one, I could really see where it was very similar. But because the one I was
I call it so small, like it's kind of hard to compare. But yeah, the meat's really good. Like, I promise, keep one, try it. Like, you will not be disgusted at all. Like, you'll be like, oh, this is like a great looking fillet. And when you cook it, it smells great. Like, it's when you're cooking it, it tastes like every aspect. There was nothing weird anywhere in the process of that fish. Like, it was really good. I've tried catfish. I've tried blue runner. I've tried a lot of different fish, and there's certain, like, sometimes when you're cleaning it, like, the fillets look weird, or when you're cooking it, it smells off. Like, sometimes, but like, usually once you cook it and eat it, like, it's kind of okay sometimes. But like, there's something in the process in some of these fish that's like, I'm not so sure about it.
Maybe
not
like, so much.
With the remora, at every step of the process, I was like, oh, this looks good. Oh, this smells good. Oh, this tastes good. Like, every aspect of it was pleasant. So yeah, keep on, man. I promise you'll like it.
Awesome.
I'll have to now. Heck,
I'm going to start running remora
trips. Yeah, heck yeah.
You should.
We'll leave Captain Richard out there chasing the ling. We'll go after remoras.
That's right.
There you go. Hey, man, if
no
you
size on
the charter and you fillet it up for your customers and let them take it home and eat it, I am willing to bet they will call you back and say that was some of the best fish we ever had. Like, they will be ecstatic about it. They would.
We'll blame it on the beach bone if they don't like it.
I'm very excited about it.
Well, that's good stuff, man. I'm definitely intrigued now. I'll catch a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Offshore and whatnot.
I would say of the weird fish that I've eaten, and because I just like to try whatever for myself and get my own opinions, it was by far the best. Like, it's like, I would, if I caught a decent sized remora, I will, and I'm looking for food that day, like, I will not throw it back. Like, I will be like, yeah, I was coming home.
I wish Joe was here to weigh in on this, because he's kind of the same way as you. He likes eating weird things. So I wish he was here then. I'm going to have to ask him about that. I'll have to get him on next week and have a remora segment.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's such a weird. The only weird thing is it's just a weird looking fish. Like, it's got the suckers on its head. It's just kind of, it's weird looking. But aside from that, like, once you fillet it every step of the way there, it's pleasant.
Awesome,
man. Yep. That's a great report, man. We always look forward to hearing from you, and look forward to hearing from you next time. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, bud. All right, Capt.Patric. That's another great Alabama saltwater fishing report, man. Some really good stuff today. That
was fun. That was a fun show for sure.
A little bit of adapting and overcoming with certain things we're having to deal with right now, but that's all right. That's part of life, man.
The strong will survive, and those that adapt and overcome are gonna be stronger because of it. Yeah.
That's right. Well, man, I appreciate you co-hosting with me today. As always, I always enjoy your company.
It's been fun, man. Been fun. Drank a couple beers while we talked fishing. I mean, there's nothing better than that, man.
Got to. How's your bookings look?
Man, the bookings got, let's see, I'm looking at my calendar right now, and it looks like, well, we picked up another date in October. So right now, October 20th is the only date I have available. And November still, we've got some dates trickling in. So there are still some good opportunities in November. And
November's my favorite time to probably fish inshore, man.
Well, in November and December, those guys that want to learn about artificial fishing and just or guys that just love artificial bait fishing and are good at it, either way, these are two really good months to either hone your skills or just get a crash course in how to do it. Either way is perfectly applicable in the next couple of months.
For sure. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Man, just go to my website, uglyfishing.com, click the book now button, and you're going to be able to go on there and see my calendar and figure out you'll be able to clearly see the dates that are open and available. You can book there. If you want to call me or text me, you can do that at 251-747-1554. And if you've got any questions before you book, just shoot me a text, give me a call, whatever. It's all coming together. The year is starting to wind down and
crazy, man. I can't believe it's already October 8th.
I know it. It's happened quick.
Heard you had some podcaster listeners this past week on the boat.
Man, we've had quite a few podcast listeners. I had Greg Pridgeon today. put him on, talking about the jack fishing and stuff with the beach bum, put Pridgeon on his first jack, and he got him some couple of nice slot reds. His other guys on the boat, they got some slot reds, got another jack, and got on some of that every cast speckled trout action.
Nice.
I had Mason Howell earlier this week, and let's see, we got Norman Dupree, him and his crew. He fished with me and Richard they were here for 3 days. So, man, we got a lot of listeners. Whether they were listeners before or after they fished with me, they're listeners now. So we appreciate them.
Heck yeah, man.
Listening and tuning in each week. It's a big time, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I enjoy whether I'm on here or listening, whatever. Enjoy every minute of it.
Awesome, man. It's a pretty cool thing that's been created here. How we take care of our tribe, and I don't know. It's just a cool community, man. I've really just enjoyed being a part of it all, from production to talking with you guys, every week, to everything. It's just been really cool. I'm excited to keep on growing it. It's awesome.
Yes, sir, man.
Couldn't do it without y'all for sure.
Have some stuff coming up in the future, hopefully, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt. A lot of things coming up, man. Well, we got to do What Did You Learn? Did you listen to last week's show? Did you listen to the KillerDock segment? Jay did really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay did really good.
Well, Richard kind of took over the whole show. So it was the Richard Rutland's Call to Swordfish show. I thought
that's true. That's true. Well, when you catch a 200+ pound swordfish, you got a little room to brag there.
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was fun listening to Richard. That was a great show last week for sure.
It was, man. Those guys over at KillerDock are doing some awesome stuff, and that's What You Learn is brought to us today by KillerDock. Most fishermen clean their fish on something like an unsightly old wooden table or the top of a cooler. Or actually, before I got my KillerDock, I was cleaning fish on the back of my truck tailgate in my yard, which is not cool. Somewhere that is not comfortable, not sanitary, and not cool at all. KillerDock makes the greatest fish cleaning stations known to mankind. They are built from marine-grade aluminum and ceramic coated to protect it from the harsh salt environment. KillerDock makes tables and canopies at several different sizes. So whatever you need on your dock, deck, or patio, they have a fish cleaning station for you. You guys check them out at killerdock.com to see more. And if you guys missed the show last week, make sure you catch it. Jay, like I said, we had Jay on, and he was talking about all the different sizes and how they ceramic coat things and how they figure out what's best design and all that. And they're doing some awesome stuff, man. Very innovative, and they're just good. That's really all you can say about them. Great family, great product, great production. They take care of their customers, period, and they last.
It's a beautiful and
it's
addition.
Awesome to have on your dock.
I mean, a beautiful functioning device on your dock, patio, pier, whatever, man. That's hard to beat.
I want to put one up at the hunting camp, because I mean, we're always butchering deer up there and stuff. Yeah. Give me like an 8-foot table on the skin and shed, something sanitary and easy to drain. I think I'm probably going to do that.
That sounds like a fantastic
makes perfect sense, right?
Well, and especially the more people that are deer hunting, there's less people fishing. But I mean, we still need them to listen to fishing.
That's right.
But less people out there on the water. No, man, it's all right. We'll have some give and take and buy KillerDocks.
That's right. Well, what'd you learn this week, man?
2 things that stuck out to me, or the main thing that stuck out to me was the upping the tackle with Captain Delynn and and then the ultimate Bama bum,
beachless bum,
poor guy. They were both talking about upping their tackle. One was in order to get away from sharks. The other one was to make sure he was matching his catch. Yeah. We had the old phrase matching the hatch, that he was matching his catch. So he's trying to be able to have something that's going to hold up, be able to muscle in a jack, be able to successfully make the catch, and also doing it in a timely manner to where the fish isn't going to just die on the end of the hook. So
absolutely
up in the tackle to make it better for the fish and for the catch. So that's what I picked up on. What about you?
Yeah, same. Man, you guys got me fired up about the old South Mobile Bay yellowfin. I'm gonna have to get on some of that. I mean, it sounds awesome. It'd be really fun. I mean, things are kind of weird. Like we're saying, just kind of adapt and overcome a little bit. Do something a little bit different. The tug is the drug. Go pull on something that's going to wear you out a little bit. We release fish a lot. So, I mean, just because it's not a great eating fish, I've never tried jack or bow. Have you?
I haven't. I have cleaned a few for customers, and I told them to report back to me, and I don't get a report back. So.
That's not good,
But
probably. That's probably not good.
But what I'll say is that anytime, like when I did clean it, man, there's just like not a lot of yield to it. Like for such a big fish, there's not a lot of like a quality meat. Like there's a lot of bloodline, a lot of stuff that you got to trim out that's not edible.
Right.
And you take a fish that's say a 25-pound fish or a 28-pound fish, and then you cut it down and you get it down to like 4 pounds of meat. It seemed
wasteful.
It seemed pretty wasteful to me.
Yeah. So just fight them.
Fight them.
Release them.
Drop them in head first. Make sure they get a good flush of water across their gills, and they take off.
Yeah, I like to catch one on top water.
Dude, top water on a jack is hard to beat.
Be fun. All right, folks. That's
dude,
going to wrap it up. Go ahead.
This has been a good show.
It has, man.
Show.
It's been a lot of good stuff.
We got to wrap this thing up so I can get to soccer practice.
That's right. Always something to do, man. That's going to wrap it up this week, guys. You guys please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, again, just text the word fishing to 314-6651-767. Again, just text fishing to 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the show each week. You guys keep whacking, and we'll catch you next week. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Fishbites. Don't stink or leave a stink on hands and anything else. They don't require bait buckets or ice to stay fresh while you fish. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits and tackle at fishbites.com.
And also brought to you by Daycool Heating and Air, your home performance specialist. Contact them at 251-260-3858 or check them out online at www.daycoolair.com. License number AL07028.
Also brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo, Depaola, the Coastal Connection with EXP Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Depaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
And also Test Calibration, your source for sales and service of diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibrationdieselandturbo.com. And also Great Days Outdoors, the South's finest hunting and fishing magazine. Pick up your copy wherever magazines are sold or check them out at greatdaysoutdoors.com.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Ugly Fishing and me, Capt.Patric Garmeson. If you'd like to get in touch with me about a fishing trip, you can text me or call me at 251-747-1554 or check us out on the web at uglyfishing.com.